Price gouging. I like it. And what do I mean by price gouging? There's some sort of disaster, a hurricane comes through, and all of a sudden you see the prices of milk and gasoline, eggs, generators, whatever, suddenly skyrocket. So that's the general idea behind what is price gouging. And let me repeat, I like it. Why? I'm old and I'm slow. And I just want to start off with how most econ courses start. And a professor will get in front of the class and say, what is economics? Economics is the social science that tries to answer the three economic questions: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, in light of the fact that wants are insatiable and resources are limited. And it took me about 10 years of teaching to realize that in a regular course, we never get around to answering those questions explicitly. So what I'm going to want to do here is talk about the part for whom to produce. So that's where I'm going on this one. And generally, the way we think markets work is basically supply and demand. And you find some sort of equilibrium and you end up with what's called the market clearing price. There'd be no shortages, no surpluses. For example, if between demand and supply, the price of eggs comes out to $3 a dozen, who actually gets the eggs? Simple. Whoever is willing to pay $3 a dozen for the eggs. If you're only willing to pay $2.50, maybe you don't like eggs that much, you're not going to get the eggs. And if you think they're worth more than $3, you'll get the eggs. So that's generally how we determine who gets what in the economy. And the system works pretty well. I always like the story. Milton Friedman, one of the top economists of the 20th century, wrote a book, and on the cover of the book is a picture of him holding a pencil. And why is he holding a pencil? Well, in the book, he tells a story about how many countries it takes to come together to supply pencils in the market for 5 to 10 cents a piece. And his big point is all this comes organically. There's nobody in charge of this. There's somebody out there growing balsa wood. And does he know what the balsa wood's going to be used for? Probably not. He just knows if he grows it, he can sell it. And the same people mining graphite, coming up with the metal to make the little metal ring that goes around the top, and however they make erasers for them. All these people are producing stuff with absolutely no coordination. And as I said, it works very, very well until you tend to get the government involved. That's generally going to lead to problems. And I said in the title of this little talk I'm getting here, why did we have the shortages during the pandemic? And it's going to come down to because of government policy. Now, when I'm teaching this in my classes, I would always tell a story along this line. Now I'm in Tucson, Arizona. Assume there's a huge chemical explosion at a plant in Yuma, which is due west of Tucson. Toxic fumes are coming towards Tucson. You have to get north. How far? Maybe Phoenix, maybe Flagstaff. If you don't get out of Tucson, when this toxic cloud comes over the town, you're going to die. The only way to survive is to head north. If you try heading east, it's going to follow you. South is Mexico, then you have trouble getting cross border, things like that. Your only real option is to go north. Now, in my household, there's 3 people. There's me, my wife, and my daughter, Rachel. We have 3 cars: Ford F-150 truck, Jeep Grand Cherokee, and a Honda Pilot, which I think they're a basic SUV. So if the 3 of us are going to drive up to at least Phoenix and maybe Flagstaff, which one we're going to take? Trick question. We're going to take all three. There's three drivers, three vehicles. We're taking them all. Why? If we can all easily fit in one of those, we're talking life and death here. What if we start going up I-10 and the car breaks down? Now we're dead. No, I want to have backups. We're taking all three vehicles. And not only are we taking all three vehicles, first place we're stopping is a gas station. And we're going to fill up the tank of each one of those. And assume the price of gasoline is like $3 a gallon. Between those three, if they're pushing empty, we're talking 50 gallons to fill them all up. And then once we get to Flagstaff, because hey, I'm not stopping in Phoenix, I'm heading to Flagstaff because what if the wind blows in a different direction and they say, oh, you don't need to get to Phoenix, now you need to get to Flagstaff. And if that happens, I'm thinking, hey, maybe they're even going to say I need to get to Salt Lake City up there in Utah. And wherever we end up, we're going to need 2 motel rooms. And we're the $100 to $150 a night. We don't go with really cheap hotel rooms, but we don't go to the $300-400 a night. So we're going to need 2 hotel rooms, motel rooms. One thing to keep in mind here, there's a finite amount of gasoline in the tanks at the service station, and only so many motel rooms in Flagstaff. Well, I'm no genius. Everybody's going to be thinking along the same way. We got to get out of town, need to fill the gas tank. So there's going to be this huge increase in demand for both gasoline and motel rooms. Now, generally, anytime in the market there's an increase in demand, prices go up. And let's just say the market works. Now, with everybody rushing to gas stations, all of a sudden now the price of gasoline is $50 a gallon, and motel rooms are up to $500 a night. And hey, demand curve sloped downwards. Price goes up, quantity goes down. Now I started thinking, wow, $3 a gallon, I'm filling all three tanks. Maybe now I only take the 2 most fuel efficient, reliable vehicles. Still want to have one as a backup. And maybe I sit down, how much gasoline do I need to get to Utah? So now when the price went up to $50 a gallon and I get to the gas station, I'm buying a lot less gasoline. Maybe now I only buy 10 gallons of gasoline. Before I bought 50 gallons. That means there's 40 more gallons of gasoline available at the gas station. And remember, everybody's rushing there. And they're going to run out. And who's going to get the gasoline? Who's ever first in line. So assuming I'm first in line, cutting my gasoline purchase from 50 gallons to 10 gallons means there's 40 additional gallons for somebody else to buy. And I can pretty much guarantee you, once we get to Phoenix, maybe we can get by with 1 motel room. We're going to be there a week or 2. And the big thing here, what was the result in the increase in the price of gasoline and motels? They were price gouging. There's this tragedy, there's natural disaster, and they really jacked up the prices. They engaged in price gouging. There is now more gasoline and motel rooms available for other people. This is partially why I like price gouging. So let's go on to the topic of this talk, and that's the shortages we saw in the grocery stores and various other places during the pandemic. Most states have anti-price gouging laws on the books. And during the pandemic, I actually heard ads on the radio saying, beware of price gouging. If you see price gouging going on, Here's the phone number for the state attorney general. Give them a call. We'll investigate and we'll fine people, throw people in jail, whatever the laws are concerned with this. So the pandemic starts. People rush to stores to buy supplies. There's a huge increase in demand for toilet paper, sanitizers, pasta. I noticed those shelves of pasta were empty during the pandemic, and all these other things. But because of the price gouging laws, the prices cannot increase in response to the increase in demand. Shelves are soon empty. With the market system, as I stated at the beginning, for whom to produce, that is determined by prices. But when you get this huge increase in demand, and prices should go up, but they don't, far more people want the good than the amount of the good available. So instead of having prices determining who gets what, you got to come up with a different system of distributing the goods. What you saw during the pandemic, those who got to the stores first, they got the stuff. And who were they? The young and the fast. See why I said I like price gouging? Because I'm old and slow. So first people to the store, they're getting the stuff. Everybody else is left out. Same type of thing when I was talking about gasoline and motel rooms. Assume a 4-pack of toilet paper generally goes for, say, $5. Then the pandemic hits. Everybody's rushing to the store to buy toilet paper. Now, they're not allowed to increase the price of toilet paper. So who's going to get the toilet paper? Once again, the first and the fast. And they're not going to buy just as much toilet paper as they need. They're going to hoard. They're nervous. They don't know when this is going to end. So instead of buying what they think they'll need, in most situations, they're going to buy as much as they can afford. Now, say the store increased the price of a 4-pack of toilet paper to $30, $40. Now those first, the fast who get there are going to say, well, I was going to buy every one on the shelf, but I also need to buy sanitizer and all these other things. They're going to limit how many packages they buy. And once again, that leaves more toilet paper on the shelves for everybody else. Now the old and the slow get to wipe their butts. I like price gouging. And you may say to me, well, why couldn't the stores just limit the amount you can purchase? Well, one of the problems is the stores didn't see it coming, and then all of a sudden shelves are starting to get empty. Too late to come up with that plan. But let's say in a perfect world, they say, okay, you can only buy 3-4 packs of toilet paper. How are they going to enforce that? I don't know. The young and the fast might go in, buy the 3 packs, go back outside, come back in, buy 3 more packs, and keep doing this till they get the number of packs they want. Or assume a situation like Rachel, Melody, and I. Normally, one of us would go to the store and buy the toilet paper. Not now. All 3 of us are going. You're going to limit me to 2 to 3 packs? Well, you're limiting me to 2 or 3 packs, and then Melody to 2 or 3 packs, and Rachel to 2 or 3 packs. Now we're going to have far more than we need. We're basically starting to hoard. So you can say, well, we're going to put a limit around it. Guess what? People will find a ways to get around that. And I like to think about other natural disasters and just to try to illustrate why price gouging could be a good thing. Assume there is a hurricane, say, comes in and hits Texas, southern Louisiana. Of course, during hurricanes, drinkable water tends to be a problem. Well, as I said earlier, I got a Ford F-150. And if I have any entrepreneurial desires in me, what I do is I go over to the local Walmart, go in and say, how much for a pallet of cases of water? Paid the money, say it's $5 a case of 24 for bottled water. Okay, please, I'll drive around the back of the store, load a pallet up on the back of the F-150. Then I drive myself over to Louisiana and I put a sign on the back of the truck, 24-pack cases of bottled water, $30. Now, of course, some people out there are going to be screaming at me, and I bet I make the local news because they're going to say, look at this person ripping off people. He's taking advantage of them. Nobody's going to say, hey, what a nice guy. He brought water for us. No, they're just going to rip me for price gouging. They're going to say how terrible I am. But the fact that I could price gouge made it worth my while to go to the Walmart, load up the F-150, drive for 2 days to get over to southern Louisiana, and sell the bottled water. If I don't get the price gouge, I may not make the effort. So there's a situation where price gouging actually works in disaster areas because what it does is tells everybody living away from the disaster area, pack stuff up, drive it there, you can make some money. Now, why are so many people so against price gouging? I think it's human nature. When I was in graduate school, I had a job working in a small chain supermarket, and this was in Fairfax, Virginia, which is just outside 15 miles due west of DC. One winter, we got a really good snowstorm. Now, Fairfax, generally you get an inch or two, but that's the worst snowstorms you're going to get. But this snowstorm was actually large enough, it made it impossible for our usual dairy delivery people to make it to the store. And you get dairy deliveries 3, 4, 5 times a week. So it doesn't take you long to run out of milk if you don't get a delivery. So the owners of this supermarket chain started calling around. Now, we had the same dairies delivered to us all the time. That dairy couldn't make it. So the owners called around and they found a dairy, I don't know how, that had the milk and could get it to us. And they show up, unload all these pallets of milk, fill the shelves. We're about the only store in town at that for a couple days that had milk, and word got out. Now, what happened was, yes, we got the milk, but why didn't we use that dairy before? They were like 25 cents a gallon more expensive than our normal dairy. So what someone in the stores did was we'll go into the computer and raise the price of milk by 25 cents a gallon. Customers came in, they started screaming like banshees. Oh, you are so terrible that you're taking advantage of the customers by jacking up the price of milk 25 cents a gallon. Trust me, nobody said, thank you so much for all the work you did to get dairy products into your store for us. Nobody said that. All they did was complain about the lousy 25 cents a gallon. And no matter what the guy running for mayor of New York says, supermarkets aren't ripping you off. There's like a 1 to 2% markup at grocery stores. So 25 cents a gallon, if the store didn't increase the price, they would have actually lost money. selling the milk. This is the way people reacted. Nobody said thank you, but boy, did they get mad at us. So, which is a better way to go? If you allow price gouging, yes, owners of firms are going to make large profits, but more people will be able to get the good. As I said, I would have bought less gasoline, allowing more people to get gasoline. If the price of toilet paper goes up, I buy less. More people can get some of that finite supply of toilet paper. You don't have to be the young or the fast to get the good. The other option is you have the government using and putting into place price gouging laws. But now prices don't get up. Fewer people actually end up with the goods, and they get to pay a lower price than they should, which is better, which is more moral. I'm always going to vote for more people getting things that are needed is better than fewer people. And if you disagree with me, you got another solution to stop hoarding, stop shortages like we saw during the pandemic, rather than price gouging, put it down in the comments. I'm open to other ideas, and I'll give my response whether I think they'll work or not. So I'd like to hear from you. And as usual, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the little talk I had here, gave you maybe a different perspective on price gouging, since I bet you if I took a vote, 99 out of 100 people would say, it's terrible. Those people should be thrown in jail. You know how business owners are. They're always trying to stick it to consumers. And maybe now only 90% of the people will say it's bad. So as I said again, thank you for watching and have yourself a blessed day.